The mortgage crisis took center stage at the State of the Union, a sign the president may be ramping his efforts up to crack down on fraud and help people stay in their homes. Joining us now to discuss it is Delaware Attorney General Beau Biden. Attorney General Beau Biden, thank you for joining us.
Good to be with you, Alex.
So the New York Times is reporting that our own state attorney general here in New York, Schneiderman, will be heading up this task force, but that you have not yet signed on to the endeavor and are waiting to see sort of how efficient it may or may not be. I'd love to get your thoughts on what the president is trying to do now and overall how you'd grade him on his response to the foreclosure crisis in the states.
Well, I think the president's done a very good job. Look, this task force that's being set up, a unit as they're calling it, is a very, very positive development. Anytime there's action points is important in this realm. We need to get to the bottom of what happened here. Eric Schneiderman and I have been working together a long time on these issues. We have a joint investigation ongoing, but well predates this. We look forward to working with our federal partners, who we have been working with and talking to, the Department of Justice through Lanny Brewer in the criminal division and through Tony West in the civil division. I'm sure that they're going to continue to proceed and move on these investigations, not just on the servicing piece, but on securitization, origination, and really the mortgage financial finance industry. So I have some questions about it. I'm hopeful it's going to be a very good thing and a positive development. But the real issue is how many prosecutors are going to be assigned to it, how many agents, how many FBI agents are going to be assigned to it. I'm very hopeful that this is going to be a very meaningful unit, and if it is, which I believe it will be, I'm happy to participate.
I wonder, as we talk about the president's response, it's worth noting that he is going to be in Nevada today, where 57% of home sales in the third quarter were from foreclosed homes. He was in Arizona yesterday, where 43% of home sales in the third quarter were from foreclosed homes. Certainly we have the Florida primary coming up, and Michigan, both states where the foreclosure crisis is acute. Do you think that, because just geographically speaking, that lends itself to a better and more robust discussion on the foreclosure crisis? And I guess secondarily, do you think that there is going to be a long-term interest on this issue, given the import in terms of economic recovery in America?
Look, I think this is at the heart of the economic recovery, and that's why you saw the president talk about it last night. Our economy is going to have an increase, is recovering, but it needs in order for it to recover more rapidly, the housing market needs to recover, because as any economist will tell you, it's the housing market that's going to lead us out of where we are. And we can't do it as rapidly as we need until we get the foreclosure mess dealt with. And the reality, Alex, is, and you've covered this, is that the foreclosure crisis does not need to be what it is. And that's why you see Catherine Cortez Masto, who's really the leading attorney general in the nation on this issue, because she's been fighting this issue because it's so real and deep and meaningful to her and the citizens of Nevada. She's on the leading edge of this. That's why she sued many of the servicing banks early on, before anybody else had begun to, while people were still talking about this. Catherine Masto was working on this and investigating this. The same is true for Kamala Harris, who I work with, is Martha Coakley in Massachusetts. These are tough ladies, tough attorneys general who are going to town on this. And here's the issue, Alex. Foreclosures don't have to be happening at the rate they're happening. You have people like Mitt Romney talking about kind of flushing this all down the toilet. The reality is that these servicing banks are incentivized to foreclose. That is, the banks that service this debt, they have an incentive to foreclose. That is, it used to be that the bank that held the note didn't want to foreclose because they didn't want to be in the business of owning real estate. Well, the servicing banks don't own your note. That's why they have an incentive to foreclose. They're being paid a fee for service. They're taking money from the borrower, passing it through to the lender, and they're incentivized to foreclose. We got to fix that.
I have to ask, though, given the broad GOP rhetoric about not interfering with business interests and leaving Wall Street alone and government stepping out of everybody's backyard, is there any impetus for greater action to be taken if we see a Republican in the Oval Office?
Well, I don't know. I think you'd see. I don't think you'd see much of any investigation if there was a Republican in the Oval Office or in the Department of Justice. I applaud the president for getting this unit together, but there's been real action on the part of states for many months. You see the servicing settlement being negotiated by Tom Miller. I happen not to think I'm probably not going to sign on to it because I think it doesn't go far enough. I think you'll see other attorneys general not not sign on to it. Kamala Harris spoke to the fact that she's, as it's currently drafted, not on board for it. Look, the bottom line here on this, Alex, is that when we're investigating this misconduct, the misconduct on servicing, the banks have admitted to. They've admitted to it. But the problem is that the too big to fail banks, I believe, based on my interaction with them, believe that we are unwilling to peel back this onion. That is, I think that they sometimes believe that we are more scared of getting to the bottom of this than they are. And that's a very bad place to start any investigation. And that's why I've moved forward with filing a lawsuit against one of the kind of nerve centers of this industry. That's why you see Martha Coakley filing her lawsuit and Catherine Mastow moving ahead, sending subpoenas, issuing subpoenas, and continuing their investigation. They need to know we're serious about this and that we have resolved, and we're not scared to get to the bottom of this issue.
If I could quickly ask you, Mr. Biden, why do you think that settlement is not worth signing on to? And is there an argument that at some point the banks need to get some of this uncertainty behind them, make a settlement that can allow them to start loaning again and get the housing market moving again? Why are you so opposed to this settlement? What is it in it that doesn't go far enough for you?
Well, first of all, those are tired arguments that the banks have been using in different realms throughout this entire crisis, that we need certainty in the market. I kind of don't know what that, I mean, I hear that a lot.
It means lending money to people to buy homes, I guess.
Correct, and they are doing that, and they can do that, and they can do more of that. The reality is that the settlement is simply not sufficient. It doesn't provide a sufficient amount of accountability. It doesn't provide a sufficient amount of relief. And for me, it doesn't allow me to go forward with my lawsuit against an organization called the Mortgage.
What's enough in terms of what we should be giving to homeowners in reduction in their mortgages? I mean, what's enough money here?
Well, enough money is to make sure that people begin. I'm a little different. I'm not as focused on the money. I'm focused on accountability. I think the reason people are so angry, whether it be on the far right or far left, is that more people have gone to jail for this savings and loan crisis than have gone to jail in this. Name me a person that's gone to jail.
So who should go to jail? Who's going to jail?
Well, I don't. That's why I'm investigating. I don't stand out and stand in front of cameras and say who's going to jail until I've completed my investigations. So it goes from both fraud investigations to criminal investigations to investigations of consumer fraud. I mean, I'm a prosecutor and consumer protector, and so that's why I'm looking at everything from securitization to origination as well as servicing. And I think you got to be able to do and look at all of them before you draw any conclusions. But to do one of these things a piece at a time, I think is a wrong-headed way to go about it.
You know, I wonder, we have signs that, I mean, I hesitate to use the word green shoots because that's, you know, certainly they've receded into the ground before, but it looks like the direction of the economy, the American public thinks that we are heading in a positive direction as of this month, which is good news. And I think, you know, Mr. Attorney General, as we speak about the White House and efforts to move forward on accountability, certainly once the economy is stronger, that sort of healing process, the accountability process might take wind or have some legs in a way that it doesn't necessarily right now when there's so much detritus still swirling in the air. But thank you for coming on the show and giving us the latest on your efforts and joining us for the panel.